Papa, this is the woman I want to marry. My beautiful daughter-in-law, please raise your head and let me see the angel my son brought home. Jennifer.
Customer. Did she just call your father customer? Maybe Papa used to buy all this, his anointing oil from her.
You can't marry her.
Evangelist Clement could not move. His legs felt like stone. The woman kneeling in front of him, he could not believe what he was seeing. Her eyes met his, calm and steady, like she recognized him too. His son smiled, proud, warmly. "Daddy, this is the woman I want to marry." Clement tried to breathe. The air felt tight. His chest ached. The world felt like it was ending. He shook his head slowly and faced his son, trembling. "No, you cannot marry her." Those were the words that left Clement's lips. My people, you know what they say about the secrets of yesterday? They don't sleep forever. They wake up when you least expect it. And that was the case of Evangelist Clement and the woman standing in front of him. Oh yeah, my people, sit down, Joe. Listen, because this one is hot. A few years ago, a man walked down the busy streets of Ibadan, dragging his feet, shoulders slumped. Exhaustion clung to him like a second skin. A car honked violently as it swerved past him. "Move!" someone shouted. He barely noticed. This was Pastor Clement. His mind was a storm. His mother lay in the hospital. The doctors demanded 300,000 naira for her treatment. Church offerings had been low, and some days he hadn't eaten. Hunger clawed at his stomach, sharp and relentless. He stopped at a small bread stall. He grabbed a loaf, ripped it open, and began eating. When he reached for his wallet to pay, his heart froze. His fingers searched again quickly, then again. His breathing changed immediately. Every note gone. The bread seller leaned forward, eyes sharp. He had noticed Clement's fumbling, the hesitation in his hands, the way his face tightened. "Eh? You want pay or not?" I'll pay. I just need a moment," Clement stammered, panic rising. Before he could say more, bah! A sharp sting exploded across his face. The slap knocked him slightly back. Heat burned his cheek. His ears rang. Humiliation, shock, and fear twisted inside him. The seller jabbed a finger at him. "Pay now! You think I run charity?" From the crowd, a calm voice cut through the chaos. "How much is he owing you now?" The seller backed the amount. 2,000 naira. Clement froze, blinking. That voice, calm, certain, full of authority. He turned and saw her, standing quietly, calm in the middle of the crowd. Without a word, she handed the money to the seller. The seller counted the cash quickly, nodded and returned to his stall, muttering under his breath. Clement stood there, heart pounding, cheek still burning, ears ringing, stomach twisting. The street felt unusually quiet. The woman bought a small loaf for herself, moving naturally through the crowd, preparing to leave. Clement felt it suddenly. He couldn't let her just vanish. "Wait!" She paused. "Please, I don't even know your name." She turned, smiling, playful and knowing. My name is Jennifer. I'm Clement, Pastor Clement." Her laugh came softly, confident, alive. "Pastor what?" She smiled one last time, then walked away, leaving Clement stunned, grateful, and deeply curious. Days passed. Clement trudged back to his small house, shoulders heavy, mind swirling with exhaustion. He had spent the entire day searching for work, any work he could get with his computer science certificate, but the city seemed closed to him. Every office, every call, every hopeful lead had ended the same. Nothing. Inside, the faint scent of the small home greeted him. His 3-year-old daughter played quietly in the corner, her small hands busy with a ragged doll. His wife sat on a wooden stool, her face calm but tired. "Clement, there's no food in the house. I didn't have time to go to the market today." She paused. "I went to the farm to fetch cassava and other things for our son in the city, so I couldn't shop for us." Clement nodded. He understood. He leaned back briefly, rubbing his temples, the weight of the day pressing down on him. By mid-afternoon, he decided he would go to the market himself. There was no other choice. He stepped back into the busy streets, the sun high above, casting sharp shadows along the uneven pavement. At the market, his attention moved from stall to stall, the crowd, the goods, the small list in his head. Then suddenly, he stopped. A woman moved through the stalls, calm, confident, familiar, but he couldn't place her. She had just stepped out of a car, moving lightly onto the pavement, blending into the crowd with quiet composure. Clement's chest tightened. Something about her was impossible to ignore. He called out hesitantly, "Excuse me?" She glanced at him briefly, but continued walking, not breaking her stride. Clement's stomach twisted. He stepped closer, careful not to startle her. He asked, his voice catching slightly in the crowded noise, if she had been dropped by a car. She looked at him, a sly, playful smile curling her lips. No, by a boat." The corner of Clement's mouth twitched. A laugh escaped him, and she joined in, light and easy, cutting through the market noise. Clement moved a little closer, his heart still racing. Quietly, "Do you remember me?" Her eyes flickered for a moment, then recognition surfaced. "Oh, Pastor Clement!" Relief washed over him. Yes, it's me." His shoulders dropped slightly. She tilted her head, studying him, amusement still lingering. Clement glanced around, the stalls, vendors calling, the smell of roasted yam and fresh vegetables in the air. "How are you?" "Fine." They exchanged a few more words, where she was staying, what brought her to the market, but kept it brief, natural, flowing with the busy streets. She moved gracefully, blending into the crowd, yet somehow still standing out. After a few moments, Clement finished his purchases and started walking home. But the encounter stayed with him. A few weeks slipped by quietly. Nothing dramatic, just time moving forward, while Clement's mind stayed oddly stuck on her. And slowly, what started as a simple act of kindness began to grow into something he could not name. Clement found himself thinking about her, not in a bad way, but in a way he could not explain. Anytime he went out to evangelize, his steps would somehow lead him back to that same street, that same corner, and almost always she would be there, here? Jennifer, standing calmly, like she was waiting for something or someone. "Ah, Pastor, you don't come again." Clement would clear his throat, trying to act serious. "I was just passing." She would laugh, that soft laugh that made him forget, even if just for a moment, the weight he carried every day. Their conversations were simple, nothing deep, nothing serious. "How is your mother?" "She's getting better." "How is your church?" "We thank God." Then, one day, she tilted her head differently, teasing. "So, Pastor, you be my regular customer now, Abi?" Clement blinked. "Customer?" She laughed. "Haha, yes now, you dey come here every day. If this place be shop, you for don't get loyalty card." Clement shook his head, trying not to smile. "I am not your customer." She smiled wider. We will see. I go still save your name, Customer Pastor." Clement finally laughed. For a moment, everything felt light. Soon after, Clement started stopping by more often. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes afternoon, sometimes even when he had no reason to pass there. And Jennifer never chased him away. She listened. She joked. She made things feel light, something Clement had not felt in a long time. One bright Sunday after service, as the harmattan dust still danced in the air, 3 women cornered Evangelist Clement near the church gate. Their wrappers were tight, their smiles sweet like overripe mango, but their eyes sharp like razor blades. "Pastor Clement," the first one began, lowering her voice. "We dey hear something, oh, something wey no good." Clement wiped sweat from his brow. "What do you mean, my sisters?" The second one stepped closer, fanning herself slowly with her handkerchief. "Your special friend, the one people see you with for evening time. Do you even know what should they do when night come?" They did not say everything at once. They built it slowly. The men, the late night visits, the part of the street where she was known too well. Each word landed on Clement's chest like a stone. He stood there quietly, his legs suddenly heavy, remembering Jennifer's calm eyes, the way she had rescued him from shame at the bread store. His mouth went dry. "She's just a friend, helping sometimes," he muttered. The women laughed softly, that low, knowing church laugh. "Pastor, shine your eyes, oh." That night, Clement could not sleep. The mosquitoes buzzed around his ears, but it was not their sound that disturbed him. It was Jennifer's face, her laughter, her kindness, her profession. "How can a woman like that show me such light?" he whispered into the darkness. Yet, the next evening, when the sun was melting behind the zinc roofs, he still found himself walking toward her compound. This time, he did not enter. He stayed under the mango tree, half hidden in shadow. Jennifer came out, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "Pastor, you no want to enter today?" I am in a hurry," he lied, his eyes already scanning the empty street. "Just checking if you are fine." She studied him for a long moment, then smiled that same quiet, knowing smile. Without a word, she pressed folded notes into her palm. "Buy something for your children and use the rest for church work." Clement's pride burned inside him, but hunger and need spoke louder. He accepted it, head bowed. "Thank you," he whispered, then walked away quickly, like someone escaping his own shadow. Life pressed Clement harder as the days went by. Sometimes, when people were around, he would pretend not to notice Jennifer. If she greeted him openly on the street, especially during the day, he would answer quickly and keep walking, his eyes shifting nervously toward whoever might be watching. Other times, in crowded places, he acted distant, careful. But when evening came and the streets grew quieter, Clement still found himself returning to her compound, slipping through shadows and avoiding familiar eyes.
Hi there.
He never truly stayed away from her. He simply did not want the world to see it.
Good.
One afternoon, Little Favor dragged her school bag into the house, her eyes swollen and red from crying. "Daddy, the headmistress said I should not come back until the fees are paid." The words pierced Clement deeper than any knife. That same evening, under the harsh sun, he joined laborers at a construction site. Dust filled the air, choking his throat as he carried heavy cement blocks with trembling hands. His soft preacher's palms tore against the rough weight, sweat mixing with tears he refused to let fall. "For my daughter," he kept whispering to himself like a prayer. The following day, while struggling beneath another heavy load, a familiar voice suddenly cut through the noise around him. "Clement!" He froze instantly. Slowly, he turned around. Jennifer stood there, in a simple dress, holding a small basket in her hands. Her eyes moved across his body silently, taking in everything: The dust-covered clothes, the trembling arms, the exhausted pastor reduced to a struggling laborer. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them felt heavy beneath the hot Ibadan sun. Then she looked at him carefully. Softly, "Why are you avoiding me like plague? Is it because of what people are saying about me?" Clement lowered his eyes immediately, unable to hold her gaze for long. "You know how the brethren talk," he muttered weakly. Jennifer stepped a little closer. "Didn't Jesus eat with tax collectors and sinners? Didn't he allow a woman like me to wash his feet?" Her words struck him deeply. But instead of allowing the pain to remain, she gave a soft laugh, almost as if she refused to let sadness win. Then gently, she reached for his dusty hand and pressed folded money into his palm. It was the exact amount for Favor's school fees. "Take it, and stop punishing yourself." She walked away, her footsteps light on the laterite road. Clement stood frozen, money in hand, heart heavier than the blocks he had been carrying. That evening, he paid the fees quietly. When his wife asked where the money came from, he only said, "God provided." The words came out easy, but inside him, it felt like something heavier settled. The lie tasted bitter on his tongue. And that was how life continued for Clement and Jennifer. Two people moving on different paths, yet connected by something neither of them fully understood. Until one morning, something unexpected happened. Jennifer called. Her voice was not normal. It was trembling, breaking between excitement and tears. "Clement, I have given my life to Christ." That evening, she told him everything. The pressure from a dangerous client had become too much. She refused him, and that decision put her in danger. It was late at night in a rough area. Fear chased her through dark streets until she found an unfinished building. Cold, dark, rats moving in the shadows. For the first time in years, she didn't pray like someone in church. She prayed like someone who was afraid to die. "God, if you bring me out of this alive, I will follow you completely. I will leave this life." Morning came. She was safe, but something inside her had already changed. Under the mango tree, with a few neighbors watching, she knelt down. "Pray for me, Pastor." Clement placed his hands on her head and prayed. "Lord, let your mercy flow. All things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Her past is gone. Wash her clean and give her a brand new beginning." Jennifer wept quietly as something deep shifted inside her. Days slowly passed after that conversation, and something about Jennifer's life had changed for good. She was no longer the same woman trying to escape her past. She was now building a new one. When Clement came around again, it was already a familiar rhythm between them. Not a sudden visit, but something that naturally continued from what had already been happening. The mango tree still stood in the compound, its shade holding the same quiet peace. A few neighbors were already gathered when he arrived, as usual. He spoke briefly, words filled with conviction and fire. After he finished, Jennifer brought out ripe mangoes and handed them to him. "Pastor, try this one. It's very sweet this season." Clement smiled, taking one as he wiped his hands. There was a calmness in the air now, like their lives had settled into something steady. Then Jennifer spoke again, not rushed, not emotional like before, but thoughtful. "Pastor, I've been thinking. I want to go back to school. I want to study nursing. I believe God can still use my life for something meaningful." Clement looked at her for a moment,
then smiled fully. Jennifer, that is excellent. Very good. The Lord will surely make a way for you. And later, as the day was winding down, he shared something that had been on his mind. The General Overseer has invited me to preach at a major program at the headquarters church. It's a very big gathering. Jennifer's face lit up immediately. Pastor, this one is big, oh! Congratulations. I am so happy for you. God is really lifting you. And she meant it. No jealousy, just genuine joy. Clement nodded slowly, a calm smile on his face, as he invited her to come along with him to the program as he prepared for the big day ahead.
Weeks passed, and finally the day came. The church was full. Voices overlapping, movement everywhere, excitement in the air. Clement stood before the pulpit, his heart beating hard beneath his suit. This was the moment he had prayed for. And when he preached, the people responded. Applause filled the church, cheers rose from different corners. Even his wife smiled proudly, while Favor waved excitedly from her seat. Everything felt right. After the service, the General Overseer personally called him aside, praising the message and commending the fire in his preaching. That message was powerful, Pastor Clement. Clement lowered his head slightly, trying to hide the satisfaction rising inside him. For the first time in a long while, he truly felt recognized. But while people still gathered around him after service, shaking his hand and celebrating him, a familiar voice suddenly called from behind. Pastor Clement. The sound hit him instantly. Too familiar, too unexpected. He turned slowly and his breath caught. Jennifer, standing there calmly, dressed simply but glowing with calm confidence, a proud smile resting on her face. She stepped closer gently. Pastor Clement, you did well. Simple words, but genuine. The overseer noticed her almost immediately. Pastor Clement, who is she? And just like that, the atmosphere changed. Clement felt the pressure immediately tightening around his chest. Before he could answer, Mommy Oluchi suddenly noticed Jennifer too. Her eyes widened with recognition. Clement's heart pounded hard inside him. His mind raced, but fear moved faster.
No, I don't know her.
Silence followed instantly. Jennifer didn't react immediately. For a brief second, something passed through her eyes. Shock, then understanding, then calm acceptance. Oh, not loud, not dramatic, just quiet. The overseer frowned slightly, but before the moment could grow worse, Jennifer spoke calmly. We know each other. I recognized him from his preaching. He is a man of God. That was all. No accusation, no anger, no embarrassment. She protected him again. Clement stood frozen, unable to move, as Jennifer gave a slight nod, then turned and walked away calmly. And even though people were still talking around him, still praising him, still celebrating him, after that painful denial before the General Overseer, something changed between them. Clement stopped calling Jennifer completely. No more evening visits under the mango tree, no more quick prayers, no more quiet conversations after service. At first, he told himself it was necessary. His ministry was growing now. People were watching him differently. Important people knew his name. He began convincing himself that staying too close to Jennifer would only bring unnecessary questions. Sometimes, late at night, he would scroll to her number and pause. Then his thoughts would harden again. He had a reputation to build now, a future to protect, and in his mind, it no longer seemed wise to be connected to someone from that part of his past. So he would lock the phone and put it away. Jennifer never reached out either. Not one call, not one message, and slowly silence settled between them like a closed door neither person touched again. Meanwhile, life outside kept moving upward for Clement. The church grew quickly. Every Sunday, more people filled the seats until extra benches had to be brought in. The old walls received fresh paint, offerings increased, bigger invitations started coming from larger programs and conferences. Before long, the family moved out of their small house into a better one with tiled floors, steady electricity, and a quiet compound where favor could finally play freely. And as the years passed, things only seemed to get better. Felix graduated with a first-class degree in engineering and quickly secured a good job in the city. Soon, he started supporting the family financially. Clement's wife no longer struggled in the market the way she used to. For the first time in many years, the family could finally breathe comfortably. From the outside, everything looked blessed, successful, complete. But deep inside Clement, something never settled. Some nights, long after everyone had gone to sleep, he would lie awake staring at the ceiling while the fan turned slowly above him. And somehow, the memories always returned. The bread store, the heavy rain, money pressed into his trembling hands. Clement could not hear any of it anymore. Years passed by, and before long, Felix found the woman he wanted to spend his life with. For months, he spoke about her constantly. A God-fearing woman, intelligent and kind. She was the kind of person who made him want to become better. Again and again, he would tell his father, "Dad, one day I'll bring her home. You and Mom will love her." At first, Clement paid little attention. To him, she was simply another woman his son had fallen in love with. But eventually, the day came. One warm evening, while the smell of stew drifted through the house and the evening sun settled quietly outside, Felix arrived home with her. The door opened. Clement looked up casually from his chair, expecting to welcome a stranger, but the moment his eyes landed on the woman beside his son, everything inside him froze. His breath caught sharply in his throat. It was Jennifer, not a memory, and not another late-night thought returning to trouble him. It was her, standing right there in his living room, kneeling respectfully to greet him as if nothing had happened. Suddenly, years collapsed into one painful moment. The bread store, the rain, the mango tree, that church service, and that single denial, all of it rushed back at once. Clement's legs felt heavy beneath him, almost unable to move. Meanwhile, Felix smiled proudly, completely unaware of the storm building inside his father. "Daddy, this is the woman I want to marry." The room changed instantly. The smile disappeared from Clement's face, and before anyone fully understood what was happening, he snapped, "No."
You can't marry her.
The house fell into confusion except for Jennifer. Felix looked at him, bewildered. "What do you mean, Papa? Why can't I marry her?" Clement stood up abruptly, his chest rising unevenly. "You don't know who she was." His voice cracked through the room like something breaking apart. But Jennifer didn't react. She stood quietly, her hands resting calmly in front of her. While Clement looked like a man losing control, she remained still, grounded and strong. Then Felix spoke quietly. "I know." The words landed heavily in the room. Silence followed immediately. "I know everything," Felix repeated firmly, "and I don't mind." For a moment, Clement looked physically shaken, as if the ground beneath him had shifted unexpectedly. Then Felix spoke again, softer this time. "When you're ready to accept us, let me know." He reached gently for Jennifer's hand, and together they turned toward the door. Jennifer followed quietly beside him, her shadow stretching alongside his on the floor. And just like that, they left. The sound of the front door echoed heavily through the house, and afterward, the silence felt almost unbearable. That night, even the bedroom felt unfamiliar. The soft lamp glow and the cedar scent from the wardrobe brought no comfort. Clement sat quietly while his wife watched him from the edge of the bed. After a long silence, she finally asked, "Where do you know her from?" Clement avoided her eyes completely, struggling with the cufflinks in his hand. Then finally, the words left his mouth heavily. She's a sex worker. But even as he said it, something inside him already knew that was not the full story.
The house that once echoed with Clement's booming sermons and the warmth of a unified family had grown unnervingly cold. After the day Felix walked out with Jennifer, the silence became a physical weight. Clement retreated into a shell of self-righteousness, refusing to mention their names. When the mother tried to mediate, her voice trembling as she dialed Felix, the result was always the same, a sharp, clinical click. Felix would cut the call the moment he realized she was trying to talk sense into him. He wasn't just protecting Jennifer, he was protecting his own sanity. Favor watched the walls of her happy home crumble. She saw her father's jaw set like flint and her mother's eyes grow hollow with grief. The division was total until the morning the foundation finally gave way. It happened in the kitchen. Favor was descriptive, telling her mother about a dream she'd had when she noticed her mother's hand hovering aimlessly over a plate. "Mommy?" Her mother didn't answer. Her eyes rolled back and she slumped toward the floor. The sound of her body hitting the tiles was a thunderclap that shattered the weeks of frozen silence. Panic erupted. Favor's screams brought the neighbors running. Clement was miles away, preparing for a high-profile church program, but the moment he got the call, his Bible fell from his hands. He didn't think, he just ran. When Clement burst through the hospital doors, he expected a stranger. He expected a cold, clinical face to tell him whether his wife lived or died. Instead, he saw her. The nurse coordinating the trauma team, giving orders with calm, sharp authority, was Jennifer. She was professional, she was respected, the doctors listened when she spoke. She moved with a grace and competence. The woman he once claimed was not worthy to stand beside his family was the very woman now massage starting his wife's heart back to life. He stood in the hallway, a great man of God, reduced to a helpless spectator, watching the woman he judged become his wife's guardian angel. At the hospital, the air was thick with the smell of antiseptic and fear. Felix arrived shortly after, his face a mask of controlled agony. He stood on one side of the waiting room, Clement on the other. They didn't speak. They were two strangers bonded only by the woman fighting for her life behind the double doors. Later that night, after his wife was stabilized, Clement went home alone to pick up essentials. He was emotionally drained, his world tilted on its axis. On his way back to the hospital the next morning, emotionally exhausted and distracted, Clement noticed a woman angrily dragging a frightened dog along the roadside. He slowed down and asked her what had happened. Angrily, "This dog used to bite people. Once it starts, it never changes." She tightened the leash slightly. Firmly, "It stopped biting 6 months ago, but I've already made my mind. It has to go. I am selling it." Almost absent-mindedly, Clement responded, feeling pity for the poor animal. Calmly, "But if it has changed now, why keep holding the past over it?" Then silence, because his words hit him immediately, hard. The woman didn't respond, but the silence in Clement's car became deafening. He drove off slowly, his mind heavy with thought. "If I can plead for an animal to be given a second chance," he muttered to himself, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. And then it hit him like a physical blow. He realized he was that woman, and Jennifer was the dog whose past he refused to let go. When he returned to the hospital, everything suddenly looked different. Not physically, emotionally.
For the first time in years, he noticed Jennifer differently. The calm way she spoke to frightened patients, the respect in people's voices when they addressed her, the compassion in the way she moved from bed to bed, the peace on her face. And slowly, the image he had carried of her for years began to break apart. Later, Jennifer walked toward the family after checking on his wife. "She'll be fine. The doctors responded early enough," she added calmly, staring at them. "She had severe vasovagal syncope due to exhaustion and dehydration, but she's fine now." Then, unexpectedly, "Thank you so much." Everybody froze slightly. Felix looked up immediately. Favor, too. Even Jennifer seemed surprised for a second. It came from Clement. Days later, his wife was finally discharged. When they returned home, the atmosphere felt different, quieter, softer, more reflective. Jennifer was not there, and somehow that made the moment even more personal. After helping his wife settle down comfortably, Clement sat quietly for a long time, thinking. Then finally, "Felix." His son turned immediately. "Bring her home properly next time." The room went silent, but this time it was not a painful silence. His wife smiled quietly. Favor looked relieved, and Felix almost could not believe what he had just heard. Days later, after the epiphany with the dog and the quiet "thank you," the time came for a true reckoning. Clement knew that a simple "I'm sorry" would be like placing a band-aid on a gunshot wound. The evening Jennifer arrived at the house, the atmosphere was thick. Clement didn't wait for her to sit. He stood in the center of the living room looking at the woman he had tried so hard to erase. He didn't just speak, he broke. Clement's knees hit the floor with a heavy thud that made Favor gasp. He didn't look like a great man of God in that moment. He looked like a man who had finally seen his own reflection and didn't like the view. "Jennifer," his voice was thick, vibrating with a pain he had suppressed for years. "I spent my life preaching about a God who forgets sins. Yet, I turned myself into a record keeper of yours. I acted like I was the gatekeeper of heaven, deciding who was worthy to stand in my home." He looked up, regret in his face. "I was a hypocrite. I used the pulpit to talk about grace, but I used my heart to practice malice. You saved my wife, the very woman I told you you weren't fit to be around. You gave us life when I gave you nothing but judgment. Please, if there is any space left in your heart, forgive me." The room was deathly still. Felix took a step forward, his own eyes wet, seeing a version of his father he never thought existed, a humble one. Jennifer didn't hesitate. She reached down, her hands firm yet gentle, and pulled him upward. She didn't let him stay in the dust. "I forgave you long ago, Pastor," she whispered, her voice steady despite the tears. "I didn't stay away because I was angry. I stayed because I was waiting for the light to come back into your eyes. I understood the pressure of the title you wear. Let the past stay buried. We have a wedding to plan." 6 months later, the heaviness had been replaced by the frantic, joyful chaos of wedding bells. In the bridal shop, Favor watched Jennifer with pure adoration. The two had become inseparable, a sisterhood forged in the fire of the previous months. Favor held up a gown encrusted with delicate lace, twirling it around. "Auntie Jennifer, pick the best one, oh. Daddy gave me his card and said he will pay for everything. He specifically said." Favor deepened her voice to mimic Clement's authoritative tone. "Tell Jennifer she should not choose one of those gowns that look somehow. She is my daughter now and she must look the part." Jennifer doubled over, her laughter echoing through the boutique. "Ah, so your father is a fashion critic now, from pastor to stylist." As they stepped out of the shop, the sun felt warmer than usual. Passing the fruit stand, the sight of the mangoes brought a final
peaceful closure to the journey. Don't tell me you want to serve mangoes at your wedding too, Favor teased. Jennifer's eyes twinkled with a mischievous, healing light. Why not? Your father will definitely eat them. And they both laughed out loud. And so you see, my people, the past is like a dry skin we must shed to grow. When a person offers you their heart in true repentance, do not lock the door. Forgiveness doesn't change what happened behind us, but it clears the path for everything that lies ahead.
Hey besties! If you enjoyed the story, like and subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from.